Monroe County, and then making them with the cities also being members, as well as Southern Rivers, Central Georgia EMC, Georgia Power, and there's a few other private entities that are members as well. And just so that y'all know, the general purpose of that group is to organize the counties south of Atlanta and be ready for expansion and growth, whether it's in tourism, whether it's in transportation, whether it's in economic development, because that's how some of the items, but some of the projects were placed on the north side of Atlanta, because those groups were organized and were able to come kind of a united front, kind of a regional approach. And so all we're asking for, all the I-75 Corridor Coalition, excuse me, is for just a vote of confidence.
They kind of build on what they're actually going to do on our, counties.
Well, nothing specific here, but for example, one of the projects that's going on with the I-75 Central Corridor Coalition right now is discussion of some rail, passenger rail from Atlanta down to Robins Air Force Base. We've got whether you are for or against the current administration, there's going to be some infrastructure money put out there, and if we're organized and ready to discuss it, we may be able to get some federal support or something like that, and other economic development. So yes, in Monroe County, but also for the whole corridor, as we call it. And the corridor is also I-75, and it's over the Highway 87 on the east and over to Highway 41 on the west. Probably the easiest way to define the boundaries. Any other questions on it? I mean, we would it's just a vote of confidence. We pay $500 a year to be a member of the of the coalition. And those dues just help pay for administrative support from everybody. Any questions on it? All right, hearing none, we'll bring that up and ask for a motion to approve the resolution. Next item that we'll discuss is going to be the Board of Education Collaborative Partnership for securing a college and career academy. Many of y'all may have heard, who has not heard about the possible college and career academy? We've been talking about doing for a few years now. All this again, unless I'm sadly mistaken, is just our vote of confidence and support of the Board of Education, working with Central Georgia Technical College and with the state to get the funding necessary to get get that built and to have some strong technical education here locally in the county.
This is the one we tried to get built up on Indian Springs.
We tried to originally, but then the school found space, property over there right beside the high school, and so then they don't have to bus kids back and forth, which is, I think that's a positive. So
Yeah, that'd be a positive thing for the county.
that's right. Absolutely. I mean, we definitely need technical jobs all the way around, whether it's welding, heating and air, electrical, and any other number of things.
So this we just need to vote.
Yes, sir. A motion to approve the partnership and support it. Is
there any financial support through the county for that?
No. The only quote unquote financial support would have basically been more so through the development authority. If we were going to go with the Indian Springs property, they were gracious enough to offer some acreage to put it on, but when they moved it over there, we don't have any particular investment in it. So, all right. Any other questions on that? And we'll get a motion at the time to support it as well. Next item is the Estes Road Water Extension. John, I believe this is in your, and Jim. We'll start with Jim, and then John, I know it's in your district.
This would be a change order to the current work that's going on with the company owned by Jerry McMillan. We have water on Whittle Road, and we have water on Cardiff Drive. They're 3,700 feet apart. The change order would be to go forward and put an 8-inch water line, close the loop there. It also include fire protection, funds are available. This would pick up 13 plus additional residents in the area. The cost is $147,000. Funds are available in 2020 SPLOST.
The biggest thing about it, we got 2 dead-end lines out there. Absolutely. And that cut down the flushing.
Completely understand that. Any questions for Jim or John on that particular project? Okay, very good. We'll bring that up a little bit in the regular meeting. All right, Jim, let's move into old business and talk about intergovernmental agreements.
This is my second kick at the can on reviewing all the intergovernmental agreements. We'll review the elections. There's no change recommended there. We picked up the tax commissioner who does charge the city of Forsyth in visiting with the tax commissioner. Last time this was amended was 2004. She's working to bring forward to the city of Forsyth a recommendation to increase her charges for all the work she does in collecting the tax data, issuing the tax bills, collecting, going through the 5-day sales. Animal control has been reviewed. There's no recommended changes. On the fuel depot, we went back and had a look at it, picked up depreciation and some administration. This would also affect the Board of Education. So there would be a recommendation for small additional charges in addition to the fuel that are purchased by each of those organizations. Look again at the use of the courts. Small change there from what was presented at the last meeting to include the actual salaries of bailiffs and rolling into the overall building use provision for maintenance. No change on the inmate medical, no change in jail fund. Still the recommendation to meet with the city and ask for support of the library. And the last one is the E911. That's still an ongoing piece of the project.
Any questions for Jim on those? Any discussion on that about?
Do you want me to update everybody on the 911 discussion?
Yeah, big great.
Yeah, I was asked 2 or 3 months ago to that the city would like to renegotiate the 911 fees. I spent several hours just looking at the budget and talking with the sheriff and trying to validate or invalidate what we were charging the city. And I came to the conclusion that the 15% that we're charging is more than generous on the county's part. I actually had I was going to discuss this with the mayor, and he turned the negotiation part over to the city manager. So I sent all that information to her, and about a month later, she sent me a list of questions, and a lot of it being financial questions. Took me about a week, and I had several discussions with the sheriff. A lot of information from our finance department on our budget on what it actually costs and why it actually has gone up over the last several years. Just verified just a great deal of financial information. Actually went to 911, visited, did a tour there and saw what they actually did, and there's a lot of things that are tied to 911. Just for one example, validation of warrants is just something in particular that that we have to keep. We have to keep those records for county and city. That's one of the jobs that there's a full-time person that does that. So bottom line is, I went back to the city and went back to the city manager, and I said, here's all of your info, and I am more convinced than ever that at 15%, this is a very good deal for the city, because it probably could be higher. But that's what this board had agreed to, for me to go to them to make sure that, we were validating what we had. And I did, and I've done a lot of work. And actually, the sheriff has actually invited them at any time to come look at the 911 center and just more understand the service that they'd like to. So I think I've kind of run the gauntlet on that.
So that's 2021.
Mhm.
Is it gonna stay 15% thereafter?
Till you say, Eddie, go back and.
So just do it again. That's right.
You know, as long as we get the fair share.
Well, it's 15% of the cost each year as we determine it, so it'll adjust, but it'll adjust accordingly. I'm gonna definitely thank Eddie. Most of y'all know that I was working on that, and the mayor and I didn't quite agree all the time. and to save mine and his friendship, I decided that I needed to distance myself from that. So Eddie's done a yeoman's job on getting that information, spending the time on getting that done. And I think that they're I don't want to speak for them per se, but I think they're understanding of where we are.
Over the time, if the call ratio starts increasing more in the city than what it is right now, then I think we can look at it later on down the road.
Sure. George, did you have? I thought you looked at me about a question. That was on 911. Any other questions or comments on anything else that Jim brought up with on those intergovernmental agreements? And so, what's our action item on that? Is it do we want to?
The action item will be to instruct the county attorney to rewrite intergovernmental.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Ben, you good with that, aren't you?
Yes,
sir. Okay. All right. Intergovernmental agreements. Done with that. Curb cut ordinance. Ben, you want to talk about what you got for us here?
This is the second time y'all seen this ordinance. The curb cut ordinance was on the agenda for the last meeting. This is the first reading of this ordinance tonight. It's a curb cut ordinance to establish a process for both residential and non-residential curb cut accesses to county roads. The main change from the last presentation is that I had merged the existing ordinance for culverts and driveway permits into this ordinance. So that's all addressed in one, and will replace the old ordinance if it is eventually adopted by the board. We went through it a fair amount of detail last time, so unless the board has questions, I'll leave it at that.
I got one question for you. Does this restrict homeowners allowing to build a U-shaped driveway or driveway come out? Will that restrict those two curb cuts on one lot?
It could if the frontage is not sufficient. So if it was less than 100 feet, then they would only allow one curb cut.
Any other questions for Ben on
We
that?
have this, or will whoever makes the city have the discretion regarding like what size road and whether it's kind of a residential service road versus a major freeway.
No, it doesn't give discretion for those factors to change the number of curb cuts for a residential lot.
Okay.
And we want to look at, I'm assuming you were asking because you did not want to change that, John, or you? I'm just, again, I'll throw out that I'm thinking of certain areas that are high traffic and that will only become more, that are not state roads. And again, I'll throw Juliet Road out there, which is one that covers 3 districts. And it's becoming more and more of a throughway. In some ways, one driveway coming off in the right spot, depending on the site distance, is already kind of again, for ag, I don't have as big of a deal with it, but for certain circumstances, like we've got one, I hear a thought coming up, I don't remember if it's postponed, where they were maybe allowed 2 or 3 coming straight onto Juliet Road. So now they want like 6. And if all of those people have 100-foot driveways, you're talking about 12 different, 12 different places where someone can be pulling out or on, in or out of a lot. That's just poor planning to allow that personally. I think we need to look at, maybe adding a little beat to this for certain circumstances like that. I don't think I know a lot of other counties, once you start doing subdivisions like that, they want to see you bring a service driveway or do two, anyway, my point is, I think at a minimum, we ought to eliminate the double cut for a single family or on major roads. I think we need to put a little meat on that and make sure that we've got that standard somehow. That makes sense. We can look into that.
Any other thoughts, comments, or questions? Mr. Vaughn? Okay. Ben, thank you for your work on this. We would take action tonight on this. No, it's first reader. I got it. All right, now let's go to the timber harvesting ordinance. Ben?
Mr. Chairman, that's in the same status as the curb cut ordinance. This was brought to y'all the model ordinance that ACCG had prepared last meeting to give you an introduction to this. I've now adapted this ordinance to fit into the Monroe County Code of Ordinances. There's not been major substantive changes to the ordinance now as we presented last time. The change in this ordinance from what currently exists, though, is that it gives notice requirements the same way as the old ordinance did. It allows for a statewide notification system for anybody harvesting timber to provide notice to the county of that harvest. And probably the most pertinent part for code enforcement folks is that it provides a process for filing a claim on each bond. That's the question we had come up last week about that procedure. It also provides a process for appealing any claims that the county would make on an individual bond. And it provides for a process in the event that the bond is revoked while it's in place for an increased bond, the second time it's an increased bond, the third time. The second time it goes to 7,500 to 5,000, and from the third time it goes to 10,000 on the nine board. $5,000 bond, I know that's small, and that's the question we get every time. That's set by state law. That's not something at this level we can release. Again, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
The only question I would like to ask you, right now, if the guy's got 70 acre tract of land, they can work about 10 acres time, they don't have to get permits or anything done at all. Does this restrict that?
This requires all persons first or first harvesting standing timber and unincorporated land.
So that would eliminate that 10 acres where they can slide under it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ben on this? Okay.
I think we just got throws out there. Have we run this by a timber person, like one of our local, somebody that just make sure that?
We have not run it by, or I have not run it by any local loggers. This ordinance was drafted by ACCG in conjunction with the Forestry Commission and GFA. So they passed some input into it.
When they get upset about it, we send the forestry commission and everything.
So there were some provisions in it. I'll tell you, I was involved in drafting parts of it. There were some provisions in it the forestry side pushed back on, the ACCG gave on the modern ordinance, and they've had some input there.
I want to go back to the bond amount. You said that's set by state on the state level.
Yes, sir.
So we would need to, Monroe County being a pretty big timber harvesting county, and our roads and things like that getting affected by, by that action. I'm glad that they're doing it. I mean, I understand it's a big agricultural, economic engine, but it's also something we have to take care of as far as the roads go here in the county. What options do we have? Do we need to go to our state rep, state senator, and ask them to raise those amounts? Because I mean, I've already heard just the last couple of weeks, once or twice, that, the damage being done to the road, is almost meeting this or exceeding it. Am I wrong, Jim? Yeah, I mean, so, I'm just making sure that I heard correctly, and so, should we go to them and lobby for them to raise these bond amounts?
That's a question, should you do it, it's a question of the county.
Sure.
The process would be that you would have to have the state law to raise that bond amount. You did raise an important point, and I want to hit on for just a second, that the bonds are meant to cover damage caused by the loggers to county roads. And the damage has to be tied to the work the logger is actually doing, the use of, distinguishing between normal wear and tear.
Sure.
Yes, what I'm trying to make.
Yeah, right. But if they're coming, if they set in a driveway in and out, to haul the logs out, the truck's full, and as it comes out onto the road, I mean, it tears up,
They improperly set an access to the road, and that tore up our curb cut kind of in the road. Exactly, that's the kind of question.
I mean, the cost of roads now and all of that, even small damages can be done. So anyway, I mean, small areas still are expensive to fix.
Yeah, 5,000 would cover anything. I've got one more question on this. We've got some very reputable timber firms here in Monroe County, but then again, we've got some fly-by-nights running here out of other counties. Is there any way on here when they violate these things that we can ban them from cutting in Monroe County?
No, sir. And one thing to be clear that we're distinguishing here, this ordinance requires notice that they're going to log. It's not a permit to log. So that's the big distinction. We can't tell them they can't log. They're telling us when they're logging, where they're logging, how they're going to access the track.
So once Deputy Wilson issued them 2 or 3 tickets, there's no way to ban that logging outfit?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for Ben on the timber harvesting ordinance? And Ben, appreciate your work on that as well. Next item on the agenda is the Riverwalk Road Acceptance Resolution. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel on this, Ben? Is that what, is that what we finally?
This is the light, Mr. Chairman. We've gotten there.
It's not a train. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
As the chairman points out, this has been a process long in the making. If y'all remember back, the Riverwalk Homeowners Association hired Mark Snow, Denny Stansfield, and Ushery to use the power of eminent domain to acquire these roads in the Riverwalk subdivision. The developer was uncooperative with deeding the roads to the county, so the county can maintain them. They have completed that process. In your packet are the orders from the Superior Court Judge Wilson granting the property to Monroe County, and also have a simple resolution accepting those roads and will record the real estate records so that it's clear future of those are Monroe County roads. So we're asking that the board adopt that resolution.
And this is one where they would pay us back if something happened.
This is the one where the homeowner association brought the roads up, paid to bring the roads up to county standards. Roads superintendent checked off on them, and then they paid to have, the homeowner association actually paid to have Mark Snow acquire the title to the roads and get it to the point it is now, and now we're just accepting.
Because at one time, we were afraid that it might come back on us and we'd have to pay something. And you put a clause in it for the homeowner association to be responsible for all fees.
We did an agreement with them and I don't recall the exact terms of that agreement. I know that we had an indemnity agreement where they were responsible for all costs in the event that the Superior, there was a challenge brought by the property owner, the Superior Court awarded compensation for the taking of the land. I don't know specifically to address if there's failure of the road in some period of time.
No, it's just when they went to court, we're in that condemnation process or something.
Yes, that's right.
Great.
Good. Andy Lamarcus, either one of y'all have any questions?
So what will that require us to do tonight?
Just simply approve the resolution. As the chairman said, it is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's the final formality, check box, state roads over, and I'll take that resolution once the chairman signs it, record the deed records, and reference the deed plat.
And I'm sorry, I may have missed it, but it's up to standard.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, very good. All right.
And I'll just say thank you for the support. One of the first things that I got hit up with when I was originally elected, and
Yeah.
we tried about half a dozen different things, and we're scheming all different kinds of ways, and realizing that the developer who could care less about the property was not paying taxes on it, so we said, well, maybe we can start sending a tax bill. Anyway, it turned out that it was a good thing and worked out well. Appreciate all your help in that. I know my constituents in that neighborhood are going to be very happy.
Very good. Yeah, I am glad to see that done. It was, I know you were available the whole time, well, y'all were working on it, but I think there was some issues with another attorney that they were, anyway. It was, glad to see it done. Thanks for all your work, and we'll look forward to taking care of the residents out there. All right, John, you want to talk about term limits?
Yeah, we discussed that, whether or not we had to go through legislation change on that. I still think that we need to have 3 terms, a limit for county commissioner, county commission chairman. You can get stagnant after so long, you get tunnel vision, and you can see what the new blood has brought to our county in the last 6 years. We really got everything under control. We've got a great finance manager, we've got a great county manager. We've all put some good ideas into it. The new blood helps, and we don't need any career politicians like we had here. I, for one, think 3-year terms is sufficient. The first term, you mainly learn what you do, get your feet wet. The second term, then you can start really doing some good to it. Third term, it depends on what you do. You could just get stagnant. After that third, they'll be out. If the president's got 2 terms, I mean, I think county commissioners ought to have term limits. But I know everybody says the voters can take care of it, but that's not always true. I can't see a reason why we need to have 3 terms. It's not saying you couldn't run again after you're out of term. It's not saying that, for example, Eddie could run 3 terms county commissioner, then run a term as county commission chairman. But I think it's a good move for the county to have fresh blood in here, and you can't rely strictly on the voters to get them out.
I'm going to fundamentally completely disagree. I've said before that every term is a term limit. I think the voters are the only people to make a decision. I mean, it's not us, it's not our place to tell the voters they can or can't rehire someone. I don't know if I'll be stagnant or not, but I might be doing a good job, and someone else, and then I have to quit, and then someone that would do a worse job. And I'm not saying there might not be someone better, but there's every possibility that someone worse would come in. The other part of that is, like you talked about, the first term, or at least first year or two, you're figuring out whether you're horseback riding or walking. I mean, you don't know which ends up, and so once you finally get educated, once you understand go through the process. I think that knowledge is invaluable. So, I mean, I know where I stand. Y'all do too, because we've talked about it before. If you want to make a motion, you can to ask the local delegation to bring it. I'm not going to vote for any term limits, not because I plan to be here for 7 or 8 terms. And the voters, for example, did vote out a 7 or 8 term, commissioner, and they made their voices heard very, very soundly. It was a very strong decision.
Can I comment on that?
Well, I was about done, but I mean, sure.
I'm short fused sometimes. Or with your, well, I just don't want to lose track of what I had in my mind, but to piggyback on what you're saying though, and in this particular situation, when you've got somebody that's been in office 30 years, it takes an inordinate amount of gumption to run against somebody like that. And it's generally a 30-year politician that will, as soon as that kind of thing is announced, will say, okay, so-and-so, you've been serving for free on the recreation board for however long, but now that you've announced you're going to come out against me, I'm going to punitively punish you by removing you from that board. My point is this. If you're doing a good job, an adequate job, there are probably people in a small community that would just not want to go through the heartburn of trying to run against an incumbent. And I don't know, I think it's interesting that the longest tenured person on our board right now is the one that's bringing this forward. He would be the first one to have to resign his seat based on that term limit. But I just think there are powers at work. There are things that I've seen since being a county commissioner that scare me a little bit about government, small government, and the license that governing officials can start to begin to take because they just feel like it's their seat. And to me, I want to be gone before I ever even really tempted to begin doing that kind of thing personally. And I think that we fundamentally should have the mindset that it's not my seat. I personally think that we have to be careful about our own hubris in thinking that someone else cannot come in and do just as good or maybe even a better job. So, and again, I'm not pointing to you, okay? I promise you, I'm not saying that, but I'm not even pointing to anybody specifically other than I think we've all seen people that have been in government long enough that you begin, that hubris and that cockiness and that arrogance and that I speak for this body as opposed to I'm one fraction of this body and I'm going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, there's something to that, is my point. And I think there's wisdom in knowing that you've got a certain amount of time to come and make your impact. And it makes you be focused on what your agenda is. If I've only got a couple of terms, I want to really know that I've got something positive to give, and I'm going to run on, and I'm going to come make my contributions, and I'm going to go find something else to do. And so from my standpoint, that's how I see it. And so again, I wasn't going to bring it up, but John's brought it up, and if I were to vote on it right here today, I would have to vote and say I'd love to have cease and term limits, just because I personally see that inertia and that momentum and sort of the side effects and how it negatively impacts our staff even, in some of those scenarios. So that's my 2 cents. And I know people are kind of split on it, and I can't even say that it's like 100% slam dunk, but fundamentally that's why I would vote for a term limit person.
Feel free.
Yeah, I got my 4 cents worth.
I hear you.
You know, when this first came up, I was absolutely sure that term limits were something that I was for, something that I favored. I got to tell you this little story. I got a group of about, just a group of people, and the only thing I can promise you is I'll never tell you who they are, because they said don't dare ever tell anybody that I tell you my opinion, because I don't want to see my name all over Facebook. You know, you put your name on Facebook. You're the one that we hired to go out there and make the decisions. We don't want, but we'll kind of help guide you. And this little group consists of a female. There's a black man on there. There's just a variety of people that I consider my brain trust. And when I have something that I can't just put my finger on, then I have to go to this brain trust. And I sit there and I text. They all know each other. Well, mostly they know each other. Some of them don't actually know the other person that I'm texting. But I do, and I say, hey, I got this problem, and I want you guys to help me figure it out, guys and girls, to help me figure this thing out. The reason it was a little difficult for me was because I was so sure I was right, and I had one of them call me after the meeting and say, man, you're not right about these term limits. I don't agree with that. I don't agree there should be term limits. And I was like, and I argued with the guy and told him I absolutely feel there should be term limits. Why shouldn't we? The president has term limits. I even said it in here. And I thought, well, I'll just ask my brain trust. I told y'all that was a story, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. So I did. I just sent out a text to him and I said, what do you think? And probably almost split down the middle. The ones that were for term limits said, yeah, I think we ought to have a term limit. The ones that were against it, they were absolutely against it. And one of the fundamental things that one of them told me that has kind of changed my mind about this, it says, you go up there and you make decisions, and I mean, these guys are hard on me now. You go up there and make decisions I can't do a doggone thing about. Whether I disagree with you or agree with you, I can't do anything about it. I can't do but one thing. I can vote you out. And now you're wanting to legislate the one thing that I can do out of my hands. You want to take it out of my hands. I don't want the inability to vote for who I want. I want to vote whoever I want to. And if I want to vote for them 10 times, I'm going to vote for them 10 times. And then when I get tired of you, I will send you packing. And that earnest discussion with that one person among the other folks has just kind of told me, when you get tired of me, throw me out. When I get tired of you guys, I'll leave myself, and I can promise you, my wife will probably be nudging me on to bigger and better things. So it's been I actually shared this just in passing with George the other day. I said, man, this was a shocker to me, and we didn't talk about it very much, other than I just said, I was really surprised. But anyway, it's just, and I like to get up here and make a decision and stick with it and be firm about it. But I've just had some people that I'm close to that and it's not because I'm a commissioner that they said that. It's not because I'm their friend. They would tell me the truth, and they just said, don't take the one thing that I can do out of my hands. Leave that alone. Don't legislate that out. So anyway, there's my 4 cents worth.
I think we got 5 out of that. Marcus, you want to chime in?
Well,
You got some pennies?
yeah, I'm for the term limit because, like George said, I feel people can get complacent and comfortable in their seats and feel like it's their seat. So I'm always going to be for term limits, and I want to give other people opportunities to come and do the work in the community also. So I'm 100% for term limits.
Well, think about it, you do your term limits, you have to leave after the person comes in, if they don't do a good job, then you can come back and run again. But I like the idea of new blood in the system.
John, I think you need to be clearer on what you mean, because we got into this last time
It's
and it wasn't
simple. Like I
clear.
said, it's 3 consecutive terms, 3 consecutive full terms. All right, if I do 3 consecutive terms, I can't run the 4th term. But if I stay out that 4th term, and I decide I want to run again after that 4th term, I come back and run 3 more. But it gives a
For the
chance.
same district.
Well, I'd have to be in the district living, or I could run for your job. But
Sure.
just like the district that Eddie's in and Lamar's is in, there were 2 lifetime politicians in those 2 seats. And people ran against them all the time, and they would never get beat. And yet, they were the 2 that raised the biggest commotion when we changed policies in here, came in here. I put forth policies, irregardless how much money that commissioner had for his water and his road funds. Used to be they go out and pave everybody's road. Well, I put water down their friend's road, which was wrong. So I brought a policy in here that now, regardless what they want to do, they've got to bring it up for a full vote in here. And they hated that. But that's the only way you get this, stop this good old boy system, is to put new blood in here, bring some good ideas, and straighten out what's going on.
But John, look, I'm interested as to what good old boys are in here.
They're not now. We got rid of them.
Right, without having term limits in place. You've actually accomplished what you wanted to
No,
do.
But, hold on a second. So, but here's the thing, and I fundamentally agree with Eddie, but I want to make one distinction that, again, I'll resurface, is that there's a lot of good people that may have run in a couple of those seats that know, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know, in fact, let me just say, this is just government in general, that the minute I declare that I want a shot at your seat, there is the likelihood of immediate retribution upon you, your family. Don't ever come in here and ask for a rezone. Don't ever come in here and ask, for anything. I mean, we're a small enough community that there are some people that over time begin to leverage that power in an unhealthy way. And I'm sorry, I've been behind the curtain now for 3 or 4 years, and I came in with a very open mind and given everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I've seen what I've seen, and I can't unsee it. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, the problem is that it's not a job interview where I can keep people coming in for interviews until I find a great person. There are great people that have to already count the cost of public service anyways. But then you add to that the fear or the factor of, man, I'll never be able to work in this community if I cross so-and-so, or I'm going to have to deal with them. Or honestly, and in this town, I mean, I've got a weird last name. I never lived here, and I find out somebody new every day that I'm related to through my wife. So it's, I mean, it for people that have been here 4 generations. I mean, you can't. In a sense, it's not really set up to bring great candidates up to give that real good decision. You know what I mean? And I had one citizen tell me, I've been voting for however many years, and he said it's almost every year that I have to pinch my nose and close my eyes and press the button for somebody. Well, to me, this opens up some choices. And if somebody knows that at the end of my next term, Georgia Mommy's stepping down, well, now you've got a couple of years where you can start to look at, and people can kind of be vetted and look at who they want to come into that position. And to me, there's something healthy about that. That's it.
Okay, so I'm listening to the straw poll, and one of the things that we have to discuss is assume that you make a motion that we need to implement term limits. Let me back up. That's what I was trying to get clear was you say, so what you're proposing is you're going to set a term limit, a 3-term term limit.
3 full consecutive
3 full consecutive terms. Then they have to take a 1-term break, and then they can run again for 3 consecutive terms.
Or they could run for.
I got that, but I'm starting with that
From that
first.
particular job, 3 terms consecutive.
Can they, at the end of the 3 terms as District 1, can they immediately run for the chairman position?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's clear. They don't have to take a break between those 3 terms and the chairman 3 terms. So they could actually run for 3 terms as District 1, 3 terms as chairman, and then 3 terms as District 1 again. So 12 and 12 and 12 puts them at, what is that, 36 years they could be in office. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think what you're getting to is it's almost ineffective because if you can run within the constraints of what we're trying to legislate here, you can run up to 36 years, or you can run 12 years and
off
then
a term, just
and
off
then
one
off
term.
4 years and then run. So you can run 24 out of 36 years.
38, 28, yeah.
24 out of 28 years. So it almost becomes, ineffective.
Well, if you were to vote for it, what would you propose would make more sense?
If I were to vote for it, I would say 3 terms and then
You're done.
you're done. You're done.
Well, that's basically what happened.
I'd be fine with that. In fact, I'd probably support that more, just so there's not a loophole, and you can do that in both positions as a chairman or as a commissioner.
So you can still spend 24 years as a commissioner.
No.
Oh, so you're saying just
3
12
terms.
years in any position, period. Now, one question, caveat, somebody like me that fulfilled the last year of a 4-year term.
Great question.
Does
He's
that-
3 years
I'm-
of the last term.
Yeah. I'm 3 years and 8
Do
months.
we round up to that 3rd full term in that situation?
Does he get 4 terms? 3 full
He
and then
never
the 3 years?
completed. He wasn't in there for full term.
That's right. But he was in there for 3 years and 8 months.
So in that circumstance, you could stay for.
Extra term.
Look, I mean, you gotta, it's like trying to figure out how many teams are gonna get into the national championship playoff, I mean, let's do 4, well, no, that's 4 times no. I mean, at some point, you gotta make a decision, but I support just cutting it off to 12, and being done with it.
3 consecutive terms.
I mean, I don't see any reason why not to run it up the flagpole if you got, I mean, I wasn't gonna motion, but if you'll do it, I'll tell you right now, straw poll, I'm there, and we'll see what the state legislators have to say about it.
But why not 2 or 1 term? I mean, if new blood is so good, why don't we go down to 2 or to 1?
I mean, I think Chairman, in all
Sure.
fairness, I really agree with your point. I mean, the first year in this job, I mean, I tell people, man, you're drinking from the fire hose. You don't know which way is up. I mean, it's, you don't know how things are connected. You don't know the departments. And it takes time. I mean, you're probably not nearly as productive in your first 18, maybe even 24 months. So I agree with your point. I feel like that's well stated. And that's why I think, maybe a 12-year term, but I mean, it's not just the president, the governor, the governor also has an 18-year term. And, I mean, some of those things are put in with good heart and good cause, so that's my feeling on it. I mean, I don't know if they'll support it with the 3.
I guess I'm
3 to
hoping it'll
2.
work its way up. Finally, one day we'll get it to where the senators and Congress, we can only go 3 terms and they're out.
Roll it up, John. Give it a go. I'll second.
Okay. Any other comments on, we're not going to, of course, not going to take any action at this time. That's not what the work session's for, but any other comments or questions on term limits? All right, hearing none. The RFP discussion, what we need to do on it is we're only got about 5 minutes before we have to go into the regular meeting. And so, in fact, 6 minutes total. We need to take a quick break. What we need to do is just have a quick discussion about work session. Then I would suggest that we put the RFPs right after the meeting, the minutes of the meeting, and have that discussion at the very beginning of the 6 o'clock meeting. And I'm sorry to y'all that have had to sit through the rest of this, but I think that works out best. So if y'all will, let's go to the work session. You wanted to discuss work session.
I just thought that we're kind of beating the dead horse going over everything twice. And we get this information on Fridays, and a little bit of time we talk in here tonight, the meeting wouldn't add that much more to a regular meeting. And when people are trying to watch it at home, they sit there, have to go watch through this, and then they gotta watch regular meeting. We never had work sessions before. I mean, how does the rest of the guys feel about it? Is it that beneficial to us, or would it add that much more to a regular meeting? And plus, we've got the rest of the people having to sit in here in these meetings too. I mean, I'll go either way. If you want to keep them, but I think, get a straw poll on it, and do we actually benefit from it?
Well, again, I think the point of the work session, like I stated before, was that we come in and we go through the agenda items and get down ones that we plan to vote for, ones that we plan to vote against, and then you can make.
But then the public, the thing I see about it, we're going through some work session, we know how we're gonna vote on it. When it comes up during a regular thing, we don't even explain it very much, because we know what we're gonna do already. So if the public doesn't get the whole concept of what we're doing.
So you want to just do away with the work session? Do you want to still keep the regular meetings at 6, or you want to move them to 5 o'clock?
I'd like to keep them at 6, because people work. 6 o'clock's hard for me to get here to
Okay.
6 o'clock meeting.
I'm kind of fine with either one, since the work sessions, like you say, like I'm saying, they ought to be. They're not really working out quite like that. If you'll in turn agree not to throw items out that we haven't vetted ahead of time.
If we turn them in like on Friday before the meeting.
Yes. If we don't have surprise things introduced into the meeting.
Like my term limits are.
Sure, I mean, I'm glad to discuss them, but it's one of those things where, all of a sudden, oh, by the way, I want to discuss term limits, and you see how long we've discussed it tonight. Add to that what we discussed the last time. You understand. It'd be better if
We need to put a cutoff time on what goes on the agenda. I'm all for that.
There you go. All right, sounds good. All right.
Let's vote to come out of this work session.
I got a motion to come out of the work session. Do I have a second? We got a second, Commissioner Rowland. So all in favor? All right. Everybody just got to hang out. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in at 5:59. Yes, sir.
All right, Coach. Second.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate y'all all being here, staying here, and enduring the work session. At this time, before we get started with the actual meeting, I've asked Commissioner Rowland if he would give the invocation, and then we'll have the pledge. So, Commissioner Rowland, if you would, please.
Lord, we thank you for today, a beautiful day, opportunity for us to come and try to make decisions for the betterment of our county and our citizens. Lord, we ask a special prayer to our new administration and our new government, our new elected officials, and Lord, just keep your hands on them, let them make sound decisions and thoroughly consider their actions. Lord, we know it's a profound responsibility, and Lord, we just ask you to put your hands on them and lead our county in the direction you'd have us to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Abbott, if you give us a roll call, please.
Chairman Tapley.
I'm here.
Commissioner Monroe.
Here.
Commissioner Rowland.
Here.
Commissioner Mommy.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here. All right, full court tonight. I want to welcome everybody here, and I'll call this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners to order. I want to welcome the folks that are here and also the folks that are watching from home to the meeting. And we've got a number of things on the agenda for tonight. Moving into new business, we need to approve the agenda. There are a few items that we brought up in the work session that we need to add to this agenda. and then one that was brought to my attention in between the work session and this meeting. So right now, the thing first, we discussed moving the RFPs, the internet RFPs, right after the minutes, right after the approval of the minutes. So let's put that there. That would be one edit. Are we going, we'll put term limits up at the end under old business. And then we have the work session discussion. John, do we need to discuss that in here? Do you want to make any type of motion on that, or we just want to change the format moving forward, like we discussed?
Whatever the rest of the gentlemen prefer.
I'm about to, well, we need to do the RFPs, because those guys have been here the whole time. And, but yes, and then George, Commissioner Mommy brought to my attention that we do need to discuss a matter of the budget for the Development Authority. And that we want to put that right after the RFPs. So the way it'll read is we'll have the agenda, we'll approve the agenda with these changes. We'll have the minutes, we'll discuss the internet RFPs, we'll discuss the Development Authority budget, and we'll then go as listed until we get down to right after the Riverwalk Road acceptance. We'll have term limits after that. Then I don't believe there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else I'm missing. Anybody? So if that wasn't clear as mud, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as I just declared it. I saw a motion from Commissioner Mommy. I'll take a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, the agenda has been approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes. What's the pleasure of the board?
Vote to approve minutes with the normal time limit.
Okay. Got a motion approved by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second? Got a second, Commissioner Rowland. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right. The next item on the agenda now is the internet RFPs. We have all the folks that have turned in a proposal, and here tonight. We appreciate y'all being here. We also appreciate your patience, not just tonight, but also through the whole process. The Commissioner Mommy is the Internet Expansion Committee Chair. I'd like you to
Yes,
speak, please.
thank you, Chairman. I just want to first commend all three of the companies that have taken a lot of their precious time and energy and resources to put proposals together, and you know, it's been a long road, a long process, and I know it's on one hand it was one of those things where we were excited to have a proposal, and then at the same time, you know, as we added another and yet another, it was kind of a mysterious feeling of both joy and at the same time like, oh crap, you know, what do we do now, you know? But I just want to take a minute to thank all the people that, all of the companies and efforts that have been made to help answer the call for rural internet here in Monroe County. We're grateful for each of you being here tonight. So, but without further ado, this is a moment we've awaited for quite some time, so I'll go ahead and get to it. Based on all of the information gathered since the request for proposals was sent out, and in the best interest of the public as a whole, I move to reject all three proposals that were submitted in response to the RFP.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Amami. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Rowland, seconded. Discussion. Any?
On this one.
I understand. I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. All right, thank y'all very much for that. The next item on the agenda is the Development Authority budget.
We had two items, sorry.
Oh, we got two.
Yeah, my apologies, I probably should have mentioned that, so.
Okay,
That's
sure,
all right.
sure, yeah.
So, I've got a second motion tonight, and I'll just say that in our journey through this internet process that we've endeavored, during this process, a number of circumstances have changed on a greater level than here in Monroe County. Among those, we learned that Central Georgia EMC and Southern Rivers had entered into a regional agreement to provide high-speed internet to all of their customers. These customers represent a very large percentage of the unserved or underserved areas of the county. I hereby make a motion to authorize the expenditure of $1.33 million of county funds and to authorize our county attorney to work with Central Georgia EMC, Southern Rivers, the Monroe County Development Authority, the school board, and any other entities that he deems appropriate to facilitate and expedite Central Georgia EMC's and Southern Rivers internet installation in Monroe County.
Okay, got a motion from Commissioner Mommy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Commissioner Ambrose. Any discussion on that? Questions for Commissioner Mommy? Okay. No other questions for Commissioner Mommy. I'll call the question. All in favor? All right. Thank you, George. Appreciate that. And Ben, looks like you need to get to work. Development Authority. We've got, who's going to speak on this? Tom, do you want to speak on the issue that y'all are seeing?
We've got a situation.
Is that microphone on too? I'm sorry.
There's a switch on the side of it.
Eddie will get it.
Oh, sorry. Thought you was asking me, was it not? Yes, good.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have sources of income that come in periodically. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
You're gonna have to speak closer to the mic so they can pick it up back on video.
How's that?
There you go. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Several years ago, we entered into an agreement where we made a loan of $200,000 to get the blighted area down on 18 redeveloped. And that's where the Zaxby's is and the convenience store and all that.
Highway 83. It's all right.
That loan was made, and at the same time, there was two intergovernmental agreements entered into between the Development Authority and the county, and between the Development Authority and the city. And the agreement is that we would get our $200,000. We weren't going to charge any interest. We just want our $200,000 back, and that was to be paid for from sales tax proceeds. That process started shortly after they opened and has been going along fine. When we got our money from the county the other day, it was combined with the quarterly payment of what the county budgeted us to operate on this year. Someone took it upon themselves to reduce the amount of money that was coming from the county by the amount of money we got on payback on our loan. And that's not the way that's supposed to work. And and if you want to get into our expenses or anything else, we'll be glad to, but all you guys have seen what we spend and what our projections are, and we operate in a hole every year without any money from the county.
The 200,000 was in your coffers to
Yeah, it
begin
came from our
with, and it
reserve.
was loan
Yeah.
came out of the Development Authority's
Exactly.
pocket, so to speak.
Yeah.
2017, September 5th.
Sure.
And so, just being kind of somewhat aware of it, and also knowing that y'all requested and we budgeted to fund your, your daily or, annual expenses, the way we did, operating expenses, thank you. But just me personally, I'm not gonna speak for the other commissioners. I was not thinking that would be included in your income. I thought that you would get that money back and also get your monthly operating expenses. But we just need to be clear. We need to give clear direction to County Manager Hedges and to Lori Robinson, our Finance Director, about how we want to move forward with that. So there's some discussion. We need to have some discussion about that this evening, just to decide. I mean, I think, John, you were the only one that was here when this was.
That's the way it was worked out there. They're supposed to get paid back their $200,000 loan by the sales tax increase until they're paid back. It was not part of their operating budget.
Okay. So, I mean, Jim, you just need direction from us about how to process that. And so we just need to get consensus from the board on whether y'all, it needs to be in the form of a motion, that's fine. I'd make a motion to direct Hedges and Lori Robinson to, because just real quickly, the county receives all the sales tax revenue. And then we get the actual amount that the Royal 7, and is it also the Zaxby's as well?
No,
It's just the Royal 7. So the Royal 7's sales tax numbers are given to us, and we're supposed to forward that on.
There's a split between the county and the city.
City, right.
77.5%, and the other percentage is the city takes the city.
Because they also put some money in.
No, it's all our money.
All our money.
Oh, let me back up. Right, I got it. I see what you're saying. The split is between the city's sales tax revenue.
Right.
They have to pull that out of theirs. We have to pull it out of ours and give it to you, so to pay back your loan. And so I just want to make sure that the motion is to give direction to Jim Hedges and to Lori Robinson to pay back that loan out of the sales tax revenue that we collect, and at the same time still continue the monthly budget. Okay, got a motion from Commissioner Mommy to do so. Got a second, Commissioner Ambrose. Any discussion on that?
I would just say that look, there's no ill will, no hard feelings. We've asked the county manager to get very aggressive about our expenditures and he's in the posture that we want him right now. So, he's looking to whittle and chop, and so he was just doing his job, but we appreciate you getting this clarified and we'll get it straightened out. So.
I fully understand, but what I would also like to know is what level of funding does the Board of Commissioners want to provide to the Development Authority? And I'll remind you, I've got 22 unfunded positions right now throughout the county.
So
I would simply ask to go back what was on the budget that the county was passed. And I think there was $140,000 towards economic development and 130 of it. 125 of it was coming to us.
Right.
So I don't know where the question is about how much was in the budget.
I mean, we just cut that down from 220 to 200. So I think y'all taking your share. This is me. I think that board has taken its share of the beating this year anyway. So that just my 2 cents.
and maybe
Understand?
you understand where we are on this. It doesn't mean that we can't go back and keep researching, but understand that we're not right now. You're not going to get
the understanding of what we talked about
That's right.
about future projects.
Absolutely, but on this particular issue, we heard that they deducted from their monthly budgeted amount that they're supposed to get. That's definitely where we are.
Agreement.
Yeah. Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah. And I got a motion in a second. All in favor? Okay, that's good. Y'all got it. They've got correct. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Tom,
Yes, sir.
we're hoping y'all wouldn't catch it.
You can't get anything past Tom.
If I was the one that gets paid, he caught it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate y'all's work. All right, next item on the agenda is the I-75 Central Corridor Coalition Resolution. Let me give a quick explanation to folks that are joining us from home and here today. The I-75 Central Corridor Coalition is a group of governments and private entities stretching from Henry County down to Macon-Bibb. It includes Henry County, Spalding County, Butts County, Lamar County, Monroe County, and Macon-Bibb County. And then the cities are separate entities that are also members, as well as Southern Rivers EMC, Central Georgia EMC, and Georgia Power. And then we've got some other private entities that are members as well. The goal of it is to target and focus on economic development, transportation, tourism, education in the corridor, as we call it. And this resolution is just giving support. You know,
I make a motion, we approve the resolution and keep you as for the chair.
I'm just a member of it, but the group, the coalition, did vote me on in as chairman, though I don't think I'll be on it, you know, the rest of this year. I think is with my chairmanship of that coalition. But, you know, I've got a motion from Commissioner Mommy to support, to vote for the resolution. Do I? Sorry, from Mr. Ambrose, George's.
Mommy really get pissed at you for saying.
He might, you know. But anyway, I got from Ambrose. I got a second, Commissioner Rowland. I should have just said Davis, right? Anyway, he'll get mad at me. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right, that's a 4-0 vote, so that passes. And just to let the record show that Commissioner Monty was out for a second on that. And on the Board of Education Collaborative Partnership, let's discuss that. Most of you may know we have been working for a number of years with the Board of Education, with the City of Forsyth, with the state legislature, with our state reps, the state senators, Central Georgia Tech, to collaborate on a partnership for securing a college and career academy that would be built right beside the high school. All we're asking tonight, all that we're bringing up tonight is a vote, or a resolution, a vote to support them, and for me to, for our organization to write a letter of support that we have here. You have a copy to sign it and submit it with their application for the grant they're looking for. So I think LaMarcus was already ready to make a motion to approve that. Do I have a second? All right, any discussion?
Is this the one they failed to turn in a grant for this year, let it pass by?
Well, they did exactly what they were told to do. There was some miscommunication on both State Representative Robert Dickey's portion of it and on Mike Hickman's portion. They just to explain that, the Robert Dickey worked too efficiently, and I want to, in all sincerity, he did a great job of getting the funding in there for the 2021 year. But when Superintendent Hickman went to apply for it, the Department of Education, or the bureaucracy that's up there, said apply for the 2022 year. And so it didn't, he didn't apply, but he would have, but he thought the funding was going in on 22. Robert Dickey thought it was going in on 2021. They both have said that, look, and they've also, it was a mix-up. It was not anybody's fault per se. You know, it was, and the good news is, as I understand it, they have worked out the solution and are going to get moving on this project anyway. So
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well,
So
I had a motion. You already seconded it. So any further discussion? Any other questions?
Yes, I would like to, I think I read somewhere where somebody from the board would have to work, once it get done, be on the board down there to work, and I would like to.
Okay. All right. So can we consider that when it comes up?
Yes.
But,
yes.
yeah, sure. But absolutely. But hey, winners always want the ball when the game's on the line. So, you know, hey, you're, I appreciate that, LaMarcus. All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Yeah, there you go. We got 4, and Commissioner Mommy's not here. All right. Next item, Mr. Hedges is Estes Road Water Extension.
Just to remind the The board, we have a current project in the southern part of the county. We call it Division 2 and Division 3. So Division 2 is Estes Road, Cardiff Road, Wadley Road, shown on this map. The other one is Highway 42 South, Maynard's Mill Road. That's Division 3. One is specifically focused on Division 2. We have the opportunity here between Whittle Road, which is at the very top up here, and towards the bottom, we have Cardiff Drive, which is down in this area. There's 3,700 feet of no water lines between Whittle Road and Cardiff Road. There's 13 plus houses along that road, and the objective of changing the existing contract would require an 8-inch water main. It would include fire protection, and this would close the loop between Whittle Road and Cardiff Drive. To achieve this, you would have to issue a change order to the current contractor, which is Jerry McMillan. The proposed cost from our engineer in this change order would be $147,214. Going back to when we originally looked at these bids, Jerry McMillan was actually $106,000 below what the original engineering estimate was for Division 2 and Division 3. So the way forward would be to connect these two roads, put in the 8-inch pipeline, connect Whittle Road to Cardiff Drive by issuing a change order to Jerry McMillan at a cost of $147,214.82, closing that loop. Funding would come from the 2020 Splash Fund. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, go back to 2 slides, please, Jim. I was hoping that that was a negative, that we were gonna save 147,000, but anyway, I'm just kidding. John, this particular change is in your district. Do you want to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'd like a question approved.
Got a motion approved by Commissioner Ambrose. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Rowland. Any discussion on it?
But my discussion would be that this closes a big loop, and we've got like 13 homes there, plus there'll be more problems connecting to it on Franklin Road.
Mm-hmm.
But the less dead-end lines we have, the better, because we've spent a fortune on flushing the dead-end lines.
That's right.
And this would complete that area out there. And while they're out there, let them get it done, as opposed to have to pay the positioning fee, come back in 4 years and do it later, it costs twice that much.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right. That has been approved. Please make the necessary arrangements. Next item under old business, intergovernmental agreements. Mr. Hedges?
Following the discussion at our last meeting, where this was tabled, gone back, several people have worked on this along with myself. The existing IGAs that we have is for the election. We found out that there is an intergovernment agreement, but dating back to 2004 with the tax commissioner of the city of Forsyth. IGA for animal control, use of fuel depot, E911, the court system at the Justice Center, inmate and medical expenses, the jail fine fund, and the library. On elections, the city of Forsyth pays 25% of all costs associated with the general election. They pay 100% of all costs associated with the municipal-only election. There are 14 countywide precincts, 2 precincts being within the Forsyth city limits. At this time, we are not recommending any change to the charging mechanism in the IGA for elections. On the tax commission side, there is an agreement out there. It's dated June 15th of 2004. It provides for the tax commissioner to charge the city of Forsyth $1.50 per parcel Currently, there are 2,646 parcels. That equals about $4,000. Just to remind you, the scope of work involved, the tax commissioner prepares a tax digest for the city. They levy, assess, and collect all city of Forsyth taxes. They apply and invoke any remedies for collection of taxes, and the account and the remit for those collected taxes. The tax commissioner is proposing a new agreement which is allowed under OCGA 48210, which provides that the tax commissioner may negotiate and contract with the cities for collecting ad valorem taxes levied by the city. The fee should fully cover the cost of collecting said taxes, the legal prohibition in increasing this fee, and in discussions with the tax commissioner, she is looking to increase the fee somewhere between $3.05 and $5 per parcel. The tax commissioner is encouraged to calculate her costs and then to enter a new agreement with the city. And once that agreement has been agreed to, it would come before the Board of Commissioners for your approval. On animal control, the city of Forsyth pays an annual fee of $7,500 plus $22 per animal collected within the city, and whatever the cost to actually euthanize an animal is paid directly by the city. There is no change in this recommendation for the animal control IGA. Use of the fuel depot, Forsyth pays the actual cost of fuel that they pump. There is an old IGA that references 11.2 operational charge, but what that is applied to is unknown, and it's currently not being billed. Cost of fueling, fuel depot, finance administrative costs, and depreciation are not currently being refunded. We went and had a look at what the three entities that use the fuel depot are being billed based on the cost of fuel. And in this slide in the left-hand column, you see that the county uses over $340,000 a year, the Board of Education $143,000, and the city right at $59,000. So the percentages of 62.7 for the county, 26.4 for the board, and 10.8% for the city. We had a look at depreciation, and that facility is almost fully depreciated. There's only $5,068 left to be depreciated, and we estimate that our annual administrative costs between the fuel depot, their administrative efforts, and up here in the finance department to be $200 per month. So in allocating the depreciation based on the percentages, you would see that $3,180 would go for the county, $1,338 for the board, and the city $550. The administrative costs are allocated in the same manner, so you would come up with a monthly total for the Board of Education of $164 and $68 for the city of Forsyth. That would be the recommendation for the Board of Education to be charged $164 a month plus their fuel, and the city depreciation and administrative fees. On 911, currently 15% of the net operating cost is being paid by the city of Forsyth. For 2021, we are billing 15% of the net operating cost based on the 2021 budget. We're yet to reach a final agreement on how we will actually bill the actual cost for 2021. That is still to be determined. On the court system, this is the use of the Justice Center. Forsyth is their average for this past year was about $800 a month. There was no charge for Monroe County jailers, Monroe County deputies, use of the facility such as the air conditioning and heating, cleaning, and maintenance. With went back and had a look at the actual hours and the amounts that are being paid to our bailiffs of $25 an hour. They're scheduled for, there will be two bailiffs working 8 hours a day, 3 deputies, 8 hours a day, and the jailers 2.5 hours. Those costs are shown in the far right-hand column. The use of the Justice Center building, which includes maintenance, cleaning, air conditioning, is $800, and then there are supplies and maintenance of $130. So the total for the use of the Justice Center by the city of Forsyth would be $2,100. That fee would apply to each day of the use. On inmate and medical, this is for prisoners housed, incarcerated, or boarded. We're charging $45 a day. The question came up at the last meeting, what are others being charged? Cherokee County charges $35, Fayette County charges $50, Mitchell is $35, Pierce is $45, Turner is $30. Most interesting, Monroe County charges a booking and processing fee of $15 per prisoner. No other counties reported charging a booking and processing fee, and medical expenses paid 100% by the city of Forsyth for their housed prisoners. There's no change recommended for what is currently being charged for the use of the Monroe County Jail. The jail fine fund is prescribed under the Georgia Code 152193. It requires an additional penalty in fine cases of 10%. Forsyth is in full compliance. There is no recommended change as we are abiding by state law. On the library, we cannot find an IGA. The library confirms that no funding from the city of Forsyth has been forthcoming. However, the service delivery strategy reflects that the city of Forsyth will provide funding for the Monroe County Library. The recommendation would be for the chairman to discuss this matter with the mayor and see if they would get on board and provide funding for that facility.
Jim, quick question. Is that the current service delivery strategy or the?
That's current. That's current.
Okay.
The one we approved in 2019.
So it references in the payment that it knows line amount or anything?
That's correct. So in summary, there's no change for elections, animal control, inmate, and medical, and the jail fine fund. We want to encourage the tax commissioner to renegotiate the tax service agreement. We'd like to implement a monthly depreciation and administrative fee for the fuel depot for both the city of Forsyth and the Board of Education. And we would charge the city $2,100 per day for the use of the Justice Center for their municipal court sessions. And we will revisit E911 charges at a later date. The way forward, Mr. Chairman, would be for the county attorney to draft new intergovernment agency agreements for the fuel depot and the Justice Center for both the Board of Education and the city of Forsyth, and hold discussions with the city of Forsyth for an annual contribution to the Monroe County Library. Mr. Chairman.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion.
Motion to wait forward.
Yeah, instruct.
Take care of it.
Yes, sir. All right, we got a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Rowland. I'm sorry, I just happened to see Eddie first. Yeah. Any discussion on this?
I've got a discussion on the fuel depot part. We've got an IGA that references 11.2% operational charge. And we're not sure what it applies to, an unknown. Is there a time limit that runs out, or can we just cancel it? Because if it's supposed to pay 11.2% of the operational charge, then I don't really think we're charging that, even with the fees we're going to go with them now. Or you want to do away with that IGA that references that
I
level?
would do away with that and drafting a new IGA, come up with a depreciation / administrative charge
Sounded good.
Is there an end of life for this facility? Like, do we anticipate having, I mean, you see where I'm going with that?
Yes, when, the virus took over last April, May, we took the action to, cancel all capital expenditures. We froze hiring, and in the 2020 budget, we had over $50,000 budgeted for new equipment at the depot. It's wore out. There's only about $5,000 left to depreciate.
In the last 6 years, okay, we spent a good sum of money out there also.
I mean, like, is there a service life for the tanks? Do we have to, like, I mean, at some point, do we have to remediate the site? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
there's all kind of environmental, you know,
What I'm
you see what
aware
I'm
of.
saying? Like, here's what concerns me is that we're not really getting the benefit of that, depreciation. So we're not building up an asset to replace this location or remediate it one day, or if we have to replace tanks and that kind of thing, that can get quite costly. So I'm just thinking, if somehow is it fair to us? And, well, that's the other question, is are we on the hook to do all that as a county? Or is that, if we have to build a new one or totally spend a big chunk, say several $100,000, is that just on us, or can we prorate that between the three entities? You see what I'm saying? If all we're getting is a benefit of that small depreciation charge, it's not going to cover the replacement costs.
Well, we're not going to do anything down there this year. This IGA would be for 1 year. We'll have our new budget ready for 2022. And we can revisit this question, but we are looking at about $50,000 to $75,000 worth of expenditures, mostly on pumps and some of the shut-off valves, that type of equipment.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second to go back to the way forward. I just want to make sure. We can get some of this information to Ben to work into the intergovernmental agreement that he's going to be working on, correct? Yes. So the motion still works. I just wanted to make sure that any discussion that we had, that it somehow changed the way the motion would play out. We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that?
Yes, do we have any idea of what percentage we're gonna ask the city to contribute to the library?
What did we, 15%?
That'd be a good starting point, 15%.
They're about 15% of the population. Right. So that's where we were.
Okay.
And I believe they've got about 80% usage.
Maybe, but they're also still county residents as well, so.
Nice to help out.
Sure. All right. I got a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? All right. Vaughn, you have your work cut out for you. All right. Ben, it's on to you on a couple of ordinances. Curb cut ordinance first. We discussed it in the work session. Do we need to give a quick briefing for the folks that have tuned in?
You gotta read it into the record, don't you?
I can read it into the record if y'all just would like to hear me talk that much.
I mean, yeah, read the record or just.
It's going to cost us per word, John. I think
Yeah, I
and
think
this
we
is
just approve it.
this is just the first reading. We're not.
And I can give just a brief synopsis during the meeting. This is the first reading of the curb cut ordinance. This is an ordinance that we brought to y'all in the last meeting to gauge interest. And now I've adapted it to fit the county code and to replace the culvert or driveway pipe ordinance that was in place initially, and to also have all of those permits issued through the zoning administrator instead of having the zoning administrator, the road department issuing the ordinances. During the work session, we discussed looking into adding a provision to, limit subdivisions having multiple accesses onto busy roads. In the final version. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Any questions?
The only question I'd have is, how can we get this out to the public so they'll be aware of it and know what we're talking about on this? Would this be something that Richard could put on our Facebook page? Should we take an ad on the paper and list these things?
No need to pay the paper for it. We can put it out on Facebook.
I just think it ought to be made aware so that people can understand what we're talking about.
And that's some of the purpose of bringing it to you multiple times, so that folks have an opportunity to hear what we're doing and comment on it as well. But we can certainly publicly available at this point for us to share.
Probably best for us to state that we're going to have a second reading at the next meeting, and so this will be on the agenda, and put that on the Facebook page as well.
Right.
Okay.
It'll be brought to you for the final approval in the second meeting of the next commission.
Okay. Very good. All right, if no further questions on that, we'll move on to the timber harvesting ordinance. Mr. Vaughn?
Yes, sir. Sounds like a busy night for me.
Yes, sir.
The timber harvesting ordinance is in the same status as the curb cut ordinance. We brought you the ACCG model ordinance at the last meeting. This one has also been adopted to fit our county code. The notice requirements for a person harvesting timber remain the same. It ever applies to all persons or firms harvesting standing timber in unincorporated Monroe County. There's not an acreage requirement here. It allows for electronic delivery through a statewide system. Once the forestry commissioner sets that up, the person's harvesting timber can provide those to the county through an electronic delivery. County making a claim against a person's bond for damage to roads, and it actually gives a procedure for challenging those claims, which we had not had before. It has penalties in the code now where if a bond or surety is revoked, the surety amount increases to $7,500 on the first revocation, $10,000 on the second. It also provides for penalties for violating the ordinance. One of the questions we had during the work session was, is there a way to limit people from being able to log totally in the event that they, or harvest timber, I should say, in the event that they continuously violate this? And the answer to that was no, but there is a violation provision for subject to a fine not to exceed $1,500 at the ordinance now. Any questions, we have to address those.
Any other questions?
I got a question for you. On that 8-63 on violation,
Yes, sir.
it says shall be fined in an amount not to exceed $1,500. Can we not put them in there, minimum of $500, maximum of $1,500?
I'll have to look and see what the provisions of that House bill says regarding that, and see if we're limited there, but I can look at that.
By the time we run Jeff out there 4 or 5 times, we've spent well over $500.
I'll look at that and see if we have any limitations there.
Worth every penny. All right. Good questions. Any others? All right. That again was the first reading. Second reading will be next meeting, and we'll vote on it at that time. So again, same thing. Richard, we can put this one on the Facebook page for folks to read and discuss. All right. The next item, the Ben Vaughn show tonight, the Riverwalk Road Acceptance Resolution. Ben?
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution to accept River's Edge Drive, River Rapids Drive, and Rolling River Court into the county road system. Remind the board that these are roads in the Riverwalk subdivision that the developer did not deed over to the county. Had some issues with getting the developer to cooperate in deeding these roads over to the county. The roads have fallen in some disrepair. The homeowners association paid, raised money and paid to bring the roads up to county standards as specified by our road superintendent. The homeowners association then also hired Anna Ushery and Denny Stansfield and Martin Snow we authorized to file a condemnation action, a declaration of taking to acquire title to these roads. Judge Wilson has signed off on that order condemning those roads, and this is just a resolution to formalize the acceptance of those roads and will record in the real estate records to make clear going forward that they're county roads.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Mommy, it's in your district. You've motioned to approve. We've got a second from Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? We're very glad to be able to put this to bed. What are we, 3 years running? Okay, very good. All right, last item on old business is term limits. Mr. Monroe.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that term limits for county commissioner, county commission chairman be a 3 3 consecutive full terms, and they're out.
No matter what.
Correct.
I mean, just for clarification, because the folks that may not have heard our discussion earlier, a person can run for a district or for chairman. They can, that's one thing we didn't clarify. Let me spit it out. They run for 3 terms, for a district or for chairman, and then that's it. They can't run any more as a commissioner. They can't run for that district or for chairman. They can run. Lamarcus just started. He got elected. This is his first term. He can run consecutively, or if there's a break, if he gets beaten and then runs again and wins the next time after that,
You get 3 consecutive terms.
okay.
I thought we were saying 3 terms, period.
That's what I thought y'all had discussed.
Whether they're in succession or not. So if you skip one and you come back and do 2 more, that's 3 terms, 3 full terms, and that's it.
I take out the consecutive, just put 3 terms.
And that's it. I mean, you can't run for chairman. You can't run for another district. If you move into another, I just want to make sure we're clear for everybody.
If what my motion is, they do 3 terms as county commissioner. Now, in the event they want to run for county commission chairman, they got the right to do that.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So 3 as a county commissioner in one or any districts, it doesn't matter. If you're a commissioner, you do 3 full terms. Even if you move to another district, you're done on that. You can run for chair, or chair after 3 terms can run for a county district seat. To me, that's a good compromise. I mean, if you were going to vote for it at all, I think it's a
Good point.
I mean, I'm just saying, to me, that makes a little more sense, and I don't think it's overly restrictive, and I mean, you got the potential to serve 30, right? 12, I'm sorry, 24 years, and even more if you finished like in Eddie's case, or in my case, where you finish someone else's term, those would be tacked on.
One last question for clarity. Again, we're voting on this now. It has to go to the local delegation, and if they even consider it, and they end up dropping it, and it ends up getting passed, assuming all of that, when does it go into effect, and is it retroactive to the current board sitting here now?
I'd say it'd be knocking me out first. I'd say it's retroactive.
Well, I mean, all of us are in a current term, so
I'm in my 2nd term, so I couldn't serve more than 1 more term.
I mean, to this board or previous board members. So, I mean, we don't have anybody sitting in this group that's in danger of that at the moment, but I mean.
For example, my opponent served 3 full terms, so you're saying that he couldn't run again?
As chairman.
As chairman, you run as district.
Your opponent didn't run 3 terms.
Well, he ran. Let me back up. That's right. Y'all just when we started this, based on the work session, I thought we were doing 3 terms, and that was it. No matter what. I got it, but y'all added back in, the chairman's still just a commissioner. I'm 1 of 5, but the point being that what you're saying is you can do 3 as a commissioner, whatever district that is, or any combination of 1, 2, and 3, if you move into each of those districts, 3 terms, and then 3 terms as chair. All right, that's your motion. It's retroactive, so out what we're already serving. So I've served 1, now I'm in my second, so I can only run again if I wanted to, if that's what I choose to do.
Okay, making that clear. Okay, that's your motion. Yes, sir. Have a second. A second, Commissioner Mommy. Now we're in discussion. All right, go ahead.
Did we ask Attorney Bond to research that at first meeting of the year at the Conference Center when this came up? Have you guys had a chance to do some research on that and get some feedback on that?
I did, and I sent the board an email about it. Basically, there's not any restrictions. It's what the legislature is willing to do. Now, the county manager's asked the question of, can you make it retroactive? I don't know the answer to that, so either. So I think it's something you might have to work with the legislature. Trying to think of the proper term, but the general counsel for the legislature will look at it, if they agree to attempt to do something, and give us feedback on whether we can legally do that type of thing or not. But it's up to y'all and them, and the terms that y'all can work out, and they can look at it. Got y'all with that next.
Good.
I have one more question, and again, I'm not trying to over lobby, and I probably, I've got a little bit of mixed feelings about it, but the more I think about it, talk about it, I feel a little more strongly about it. But my question is there a scenario in any form or fashion that would make this a unanimous approval?
Not at all. I'm never going to vote for term limits,
Okay.
because every term is a term limit. And what you're doing is taking away the voters' right to vote for who they want to. That's what you're doing. We can talk about all this other stuff, new blood and all that, but if it's a good commissioner, they're always coming up. They're always using what's the program that y'all are, both of y'all have been involved with?
Georgia Six Sigma.
Six Sigma, that always talks about always trying to make yourself, and I'm paraphrasing, so feel free to tell me. If we're a good commissioner, we're always trying to do the best thing.
Why don't they change the governor and president?
Just so we're clear, to be consistent with my viewpoint, I would take away the term limits for president and governor. Just so we're clear. I mean, well, you can shake your head if you want. I mean, the founding fathers didn't put in term limits. There were no term limits at the time. So understand.
It's a fair argument on either side. I mean, there's a reason why they were put in. Obviously, that something caused them to do it. But at the same time, I mean, it's a fair argument either way. Like I said, I've got some mixed feelings. But Eddie, is there something just out of curiosity, is there a modification of this motion that would swing you?
I've sat here and thought about this, and number one, I plagiarize myself either way I vote. The other thing is I look at it and I'm happy with both how I'm going to vote and how this board is going to vote. As crazy as it is, knowing that I'm going to vote against it, because I kind of represent a silent, probably minority that says they're smart enough to get rid of me when they want to get rid of me. At the same time, I have those mixed emotions saying that I support term limits. I'm happy to vote against it, and I'm happy to see it pass. I don't know what else to say.
Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approaching the legislation with term limits as presented, raise your hand. That's 3. All opposed? All right. Let's see what happens. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comments. This time we'll open the floor to public comments. The public to come and speak. You have up to 3 minutes. State your name and address and speak on whatever topic you wish. Anybody at all? Okay. Next item on the agenda is executive session. I know that we have a personnel and real estate some of this may actually be legal, and so can we just put all three down? Yes, sir.
Yes.
So personnel,
Executive session for executive
personnel, real estate, and legal. That's your motion to go into executive session. All, second, got a second, Commissioner Davis, all in favor? Okay, now we're going into executive session. I think in this particular situation, we'll let you all stay in here and we'll go back to the conference room. I believe that's gonna work better this time. Okay.